Atkins.
Here.
Hammond. Crawford. Darcy.
Here.
Graff.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Holford.
Here.
Hubby.
Here.
Emig.
Here.
Josting.
Here.
Longfellow.
Here.
Mennel.
Here.
Minton.
Here.
Newhouser.
Here.
Frail.
Here.
Rich Simpson. Squartino. Sen.
Here.
Sundell.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
Chairman Zimmerman. You have quorum.
We have a quorum of new business. If we could rise for the invocation and pledge, please.
Heavenly Father, what a privilege it is to live in the United States, to live in Tazewell County. As we enter the season of Thanksgiving, I pray that we can just ponder all the blessings that you've given us each and every day. You're a great God. I lift up those board members and our employees that are dealing with sickness or loss, that you can make them comfortable through this time of year as we celebrate and they still struggle with things. Give them the peace that they need. Thank you for this board that we can come together and debate these issues and not necessarily agree on things, but we can come together afterwards united. Thank you for our employees and just the great service that they do. And thank you for all the citizens of Tazewell County. I pray that we can be good stewards of the resources that we've been entrusted with. I pray for the armed services and the soldiers overseas. Just keep them safe and protected. We know that you're a sovereign God, and as we make decisions tonight, we want to honor the citizens and you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Any communications from members of the public or county employees? All right. Seeing none. Any communications from elected or county-appointed county officials? All right. I just wanted to make a few comments. I think I've been the designated spokesperson, and if anybody else wants to come along also. We have our job is easier as county board members because of what county boards for the last 40 to 50 years have done for us. They left our county in a strong financial position. And it's that partnership that we've had with the other department heads. It's kind of that promise that we've had with the citizens of Tazewell County that we would work together. Unfortunately, I think much of that is getting blown up. And the partnership is not working like it should be. The Consumer Price Index, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average raise this past year was 2.7%. And we're dealing with a situation now where somebody's going to give their department, and they announced this after we had final budget, an average wage increase of 22.5%. I would be embarrassed to go to talk to the citizens of Tazewell County about that. And it's not just that, it's the collateral damage that we have. We've opened ourselves up to unfair labor practices because unions have to bargain as a unit, not as different offices. It makes Wendy's job a lot more difficult because she has to negotiate 7 different unions. And now with this out there, what she's supposed to say. We may have IMRF penalties that we have to come up with. The PEC committee, which we've worked for years to try to make that work, has just been blown up. So any objective standard that we may use, and we try to treat our employees fairly across the board, has just been blown up. And then just lastly, the morale in the other departments, because they see what's happening in one department and they're asking their employers, and I've heard this from department heads already, why aren't we getting that also? So that partnership that, again, we've spent many decades trying to build is in jeopardy of being blown up. So I just wanted to make that comment. So I'm done with my comments, Mike.
Yes, this is a situation that could lead us to a financial crisis, or what you want to call it. It could lead to layoffs. It's, you know, it's so huge. They have no idea what's going to happen, and I just can't believe it's happening.
Comments from anyone else from the public or elected officials? Nick?
I'm extremely disappointed from a department head that touted transparency all throughout his career. That's all I heard about, was about being transparent. And yet, when it came to us in discussion of this prior to the budget, there was a great deal of non-transparency present, to the point where I would call someone being deceptive to this board. I don't appreciate it. I am going to alter my support of this office my remaining term on the board. And I will probably vote no a lot of times, and you're wondering why I'm voting no. But I will be voting no. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments?
Yeah, as we're going along, I'd just like to make a comment. A news release was issued on an open house to see the new area, and the price, I'd like to correct the statement on that. The price to do that was quoted as $36,000. We're up to $43,000. It doesn't cover the labor that the county's put into it, and there could be more. So I just want to make that correction.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else? Monica?
I do echo what Mr. Nick Graff has said about the deceptiveness, and I still am questioning the legality of opening up a union contract without the co-employer knowing what was going on. And it was deceptive. It was on purpose, and I'm very disappointed in it. Very disappointed.
Any other comments? Brandon?
You know, when I was elected to this board, I was very much excited. I was very much idealistic. I had rose-colored glasses. At this point, these rose-colored glasses are shattered. This does not look good, and I echo Member Graff's statement. I am going to alter my support and probably think a little more critically, because this is a very disappointing situation, and it could have very dangerous ramifications. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? Nancy, please.
I'm speaking on behalf of HR and as a board member that's been around for just a few years, not 20 years or anything, but enough to see the kind of board that I've worked with all these years. I sort of look at this as like a big octopus. We're a big octopus. And all the arms have to work for that octopus to move. If the county board is the center of that. When an arm gets cut off, or it grows too long, or 3 or 4 arms get cut off, which is what's happening here, from the teamwork standpoint, it just throws the whole octopus off the track. And I hope we can stop and think about the decisions that have been made, and perhaps there can be some changes, that there won't be any bitterness. We have to deal with a lot of employees. I mean, Wendy and I have been to 25 meetings in the last 3 months, maybe, trying to make sure that we are fair to all the people that work here, because we have a great staff. And it's kind of thrown my life into a little bit of a bit of chaos, because what we say to certain employees doesn't mean as much when there's this other one leg of that octopus flailing out there in no man's land. That's all I have. Thank you.
Greg?
I just want to echo what's been said. I don't understand it. I don't know why, I've been so impressed by this the whole county trying to work together for the good of the people. And it's just like, it's gone. I mean, I don't understand it. I'm extremely disappointed.
Tony?
As a newer board member, and just kind of finding out how things work, we have been a very good team. I've been very impressed how we all work together. And we're stewards of the county's money. And so throwing something like this in the mix is really hard to try to explain. And Wendy has done an amazing job, and yet then it's just everything's been turned upside down. So we are working together as a group, and I am very proud of this board that we do work together and we do communicate. So I'm hoping we can find a way out through this. Thank you.
Mindy?
I just would like to say that I am also surprised by what has happened here. And for me, it is a little bit of a concern about legality. It concerns me that as a co-employer of these employees that something was changed, not during contract time, without the board having any say or approval, or I just feel like that is committing the board and the county and we as being stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, that we have no say of how that money is being spent. And then the ramifications that are coming down the road with other contracts that will be coming, or even people coming before contract time to try to do something for different sets of employees, that just really doesn't set very well. It's unfortunate.
Certainly done without regard for the rest of the county, that's for sure. So, any other comments? Seeing none, the public comment is closed. We do have a presentation tonight from Jana Baker. I don't know, Jana, when you start, introduce yourself. I don't know if everyone knows you, but yep. Jana, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jana Baker. I'm our county's GIS coordinator. So just give you a little history. I'm here to give a pretty small, very short presentation. I know we have a full agenda here and some in-place meetings about our aerial imagery. So just kind of give you a history. We've been doing aerial imagery for a while now. We do it every 3 to 4 years. The last year, 2015, we had some buy-in with our cities and villages. They partnered with us on this. And this year, we got something a little bit new. We had also had a partnership with the cities and villages and a grant that we got from IDOT, working with Tri-County Regional Planning. So in our previous years, we've always gotten a full county 6-inch orthogonal imagery. Now orthogonal, that just means that it's a straight up and down shot. But this year, we went a little bit farther. So we still have this 6-inch resolution orthogonal imagery that we've had previously, but you can see in the purple areas here, we also have a 3-inch resolution, and this is our contiguous populous areas. And we have 3-inch oblique imagery. Oblique just means that they take this imagery at an angle. And so you can actually kind of come and do like a 360 view around the building. This will give our assessors a lot of leg up to be able to tell, you know, is it just a roof overhang or is there a room underneath it there? And also be able to be used in our dispatching in the future so that you can go through and do a nice study on some of our more critical structures to go through all of the ingress, egress into the building. So just to give you an idea here, on the left is a 3-inch resolution from our 2019 imagery, and the right is a 6-inch version. So it's not too much from a drawn out picture like this, but that little bit of increased resolution will allow like public works departments to be able to pick out manhole covers easier, maybe pick out a road sign easier. And same here, you can see in the upper left-hand corner, this is the orthogonal, the straight up and down. This is of the building we're in right now. And these are some oblique views of the building. In the software, you can zoom in and look at the building closer and twirl around it. And here is an example of our rural area oblique imagery. This is done at a 9-inch resolution on the angled imagery, but you can see it's still extremely excellent. So this is just a quick picture of the web interface that comes with the imagery that we got this year. Normally we're looking at our imagery in our GIS, and so a lot of our users, our employees are knowledgeable in a GIS program. But using this web interface, that expands this out to other people who might not have this technical knowledge and allows it to be used for planning purposes, for almost anything, really. Here you can see there are, we have our county parcels up. We can take our GIS information and load it into this web interface. So anything that maybe a city or village wanted to see can be added into there. You can see on this image I am logged in as Morton. And Morton has added in some of their storm structures and sanitary structures as well. So for all the cities and villages and any of our organizations, this can be broken down so that only Morton, when they log in, and Morton's users see this information. We can assign logins to other people as well and keep different information separate if it's proprietary or if it's something worked on just by one department. And we can also spread it throughout any of the organizations here. Our county parcels are given to all of the organizations, but then they're allowed to also add in their own particular information. And here is just a quick look at some of the tools that are available. This oblique imagery actually allowed us to take more measurements and analyze the data even more. Because we're looking at an angle, we can get the height on it. We can get not just area, but we can get the vertical area on the side of a building. This might play into for permitting. If someone's putting up a sign on the side of a building, there are rules that say it can only be so large. So instead of having to send someone out in the field to look at that, we can look at our imagery and do a quick measurement on it and get an idea of whether we need to go out there and verify in the field, is it over? Or is it just so, so big that we don't even need field verification? All right. So some of the other things on here, building height. Even in GIS right now, we're doing a distance as the crow flies. This takes the elevation into account, so you will get a true ground distance. One of the other things that we'll be getting here soon and came with this acquisition is our building outlines. And those building outlines will be taken from our 2015 imagery and our 2019 imagery. What you're looking at here is the web interface software for our change detection. So if you look over on the left, you can see a couple of filters, right? An assessor would be able to come in here and say that they want to see a change type of new construction and in whatever township. And maybe they only want to look at something that's changed significantly, something over 75% of change. And that we know we're still actively reviewing it. And so it would take all of the changes in the county and just narrow it down that little bit for that assessor until they're looking at just the specific things in their township, just the specific things they want to see. And all they have to do, you'll see here, there's a comparison. What's new, what it used to be. And all they have to do is look at it and then click next to go to their next building. And just to give you guys a nice little idea here, this is our new imagery versus our old imagery. On the right is 2015 and on the left is 2019. This is the same area, same picture, just kind of taking a little swipe tool and going over and revealing the imagery underneath. So I can pull that up and show you guys exactly what that looks like in GIS really quick here before I finish. Hopefully. All right. Just a second to load. So this is the 2019 imagery that we just got. This is our old imagery. So we're very happy so far with the crispness and color that has come out of this new imagery. And if anybody has any questions or any board members would like a login to check out some of this, you guys can just contact me. All right. Thank you.
Any questions tonight for Jen? Tim?
Just a comment and a question. First of all, Jen, you guys do a great job with this information, and the strides in this technology that have been made are huge. And the types of users and the types of people that are now able to access this information for numerous types of uses is really increased. So for us to be able to provide this as a county is a tremendous value to our taxpayers. But you mentioned the teamwork and collaboration earlier, and I don't know whether you know the exact number or not. I remember talking about it in Tri-County. But because of that IDOT grant and the fact that we partnered and collaborated with other governmental entities, I think this to be true, I think we paid approximately 30 to 40% of what the normal cost would have been for the flyover and for this imagery. Is that about right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was that addition of being able to get that grant that really opened everybody up and opened all our partners up to saying, well, wow, we can really afford this. And it's nice. As the years goes on, this kind of technology does become a little bit cheaper. So right now we're looking at, oh my gosh, that's 3-inch resolution. They are doing sub 1-inch resolution now. And it is expensive, but by the time our next aerials come around, it might be down there at the price that would be excellent for us. And that would definitely open up a lot of detail in being able to identify things from the imagery and not send labor out into the field.
But just as an example of teamwork and collaboration, I think that's a tremendous way to leverage resources for not only our benefit, but our taxpayers' benefit, but also the other people that we work with. So thank you for doing that, and it really is a neat product, so thanks.
Mike? I've brought Mackinac in, and you've helped them. Is every community, every user, potential user, have knowledge that this information is available?
Yeah, so we've sent out notifications to all the cities and villages, especially the ones who partnered with us. They all have logins, but everyone was invited in on the initial, and there is access for this that's available if they would like to have access. And we will also, just as before, be putting this imagery out into all of our GIS websites.
Super.
Janet, thanks for all your work. It's really neat technology, so thank you so much. All right. All right. Can I get approval of our minutes from October 30th and October 7th? Motion by Sundell, second by Conant. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed. We have 2 in-place meetings tonight. The first is executive. Sue, if you could call the roll, please. Here.
Newhouser.
Here.
Bonnet. Here. Darcy. Here. Graff.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Emig.
Here.
Josie.
Here.
Mennel.
Here.
Frail.
Here.
Sin.
Here.
Sundell. Here. We have the form.
So I think as many of you are aware that we have to cash in our revolving loan program, but we're able to use grants for projects, and these are the contracts that EDC has come up with to help us along with that. So if I could get a motion to approve. Motion by Darcy, second by Emig. Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes, and we are in recess. We have an in-place Human Resources meeting. Chairman Kraft.
Chairman, Sue, will you call the roll, please?
Chairman Frail.
Here.
Darcy. Here. Atkins.
Here.
Bonnet. Here. Graff.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Emig.
Here.
Mennel.
Here.
Minton. Here. Newhouser.
Here.
Shortino. We have the form.
Thank you. Could I have a motion for an executive session, please, for 5 ILCS 120/2C2? Motion from somebody over there, Bill. Thank you. Second from Harris. Thank you. I would now ask for the board to go into executive session.
Items to be pulled. Item 27 is not on the agenda tonight. Tim?
21, please.
Item 21, that's F 1930. Anything else? Mike?
11.
Item 11, okay. T 1935. 28's not on the agenda either. Okay, Nick?
I'd like to pull 38, and I have a question about 1 through 9. I don't want to pull them all, but I want to ask a question about it. So should I pull them or ask my question?
You know what? I'll let you ask your question, okay?
Okay.
And I'll come back to that before we vote on anything else. So, right, yes?
Do you still need to have 28 on there?
No, 28's been pulled also,
Thank
thank
you.
you. And then 34, 35, and 36 are automatically pulled, and then 40 will automatically be pulled too, so.
27 and 28.
So right now, we have 11, 21, 34, 35, 36, 38, and 40. So Nick, you want to ask your question on, this is regarding 1 through 9.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my question is, or maybe a comment to the committee. Last year, TC3 increased the dispatch fees that Tazewell County Animal Control was paying from about $4,500 a year to about $30,000 a year, give or take. My question is, have those fees been taken into consideration when we've been billing back the other agencies for those increases?
I can't answer that. Greg?
I don't believe that. I don't know if that was a factor when he was doing the contracts. We were to do excessive discussion on where they fair contracts to everybody, and he came up with. But for some reason we spent half a year trying to change the bills, and in the last couple meetings he said they were quite fair. Now, do they come up with that difference? No. Our income is from our tags. The contracts we try to keep as reasonable as possible, and they used to have to do that. And so they make up a little bit, but not near that money that you're talking about.
My only point, Mr. Chairman, is those fees are billed by calls for service, probably largely from these communities. In the future, we probably should investigate those fees' effect on animal control when we pay back. And I have no objection with passing it as it is.
Okay, that's a great point. I know it's kind of a balance. You get the fees too high, and then they'll take on the duties themselves. So it really is a balance. But thank you for bringing that up. So, can I get a motion on the rest of the agenda then? Motion by Graff, second by Wolf. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have one appointment tonight before we go back to the agenda. Eric Berkey to the Hopedale Fire. Can I get a motion? Motion by Minton, second by Trail. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The appointment passes. Okay, back to our agenda. Item 11, can I get a motion to get that on the floor? Motion by Sin, second by Holford. Mike, you pulled this.
I just have a question. The raises we've been given this year through, like the elected officials, were 0 for the next 2 years. And with in-house, I think the highest has been 2% and 1%. This raise for this person is 4.25%. And I was just asking, is there justification for that amount of an increase? Why is it above what we're...
Ben?
I just want to explain where we're at. The highway commissioner is paid through out of motor fuel tax, and every year we're required to pass a resolution for IDOT so we can do that. So when this came up, and another thing about that is the county engineer's contract. He signed we agreed to a 6-year contract when he hired on here in 2014. So that expires in April of 2020. So we're going to have to deal with that in April. My recommendation to the committee was to go ahead and approve a 2% raise now to get the resolution passed for IDOT to authorize motor fuel tax. And then and after that we can start talking about his expiring contract and what we're going to do going forward. And that's what I recommended to the committee at transportation. And what came out of it was a recommendation for this, whatever it is, 4 point something. In the budget, there's 2% in there for salary increase. And then there was a down in the adjustment line, another 2%, whatever. So I'm just telling you what happened in committee and why we're dealing with this the way we are.
Nick? So when we renegotiate this in April, is it likely to have another increase at that time as well?
That, Greg?
I'm not sure how to go about all that in open session and stuff like that. I mean, there's been an ask that is considerably more than what we've given, or what the committee give, but the ask is based on the fact that he brought in $3 million of motor fuel tax to our budget line. They're taking it from 1.8 to nearly $5 million for next year, and that he is one of the main people to do that. So the ask was to do that. Can we come up to the ask and do that? Probably not, but this seems to be fair to what other people have been getting. Right, there seems to be, and it's a bit confusing. There seems to be a switch that everybody got a certain raise type of thing. Like it was 1.5% or a cost of living. Then there's a merit situation, and I thought the adjustment line was there to take care of the merit situation, and so we were trying to treat as fair as well. It's probably higher, but at the same time, it might be something that we could come together on the April contract with him also, making another baby step towards his, maybe not meeting his ask, but coming close to that, and still keeping it fair. I guess my feelings that the highway at 2%, we were actually treating somebody who brought us $3 million, all this money, extra money, less than what everybody else gets. Because I think there's a step there where everybody gets so much and everybody gets another so much based on merit. And at 2%, he would be getting less, and then we'd be telling him he'd be doing worse, even though he brought all this money to the county. So that's.
I guess my only comment is that, I mean, the legislature passed that formula, so I don't know that he necessarily.
He spent his whole career being in front of every legislator that would listen to him. And every committee, if you haven't been around him, that's what he does. And,
Right.
And our committee voted, Andy Reinhardt, a few years back, we voted to support him in all those actions to help us out, and it came to fruition.
Just to maybe drill down or clarify on Mr. Graff's question, and I'm talking about the position, not the personnel. So we know that now we're going to be renegotiating the contract for that position come April 1st. Is that correct, Greg?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess two questions. What has been you mentioned that we're coming off of a 6-year agreement.
They are in a 6-year agreement.
That's what they're set at, okay. So whatever we negotiate in April will be another 6-year agreement,
Yeah.
okay. Then that position, once that is established or agreed upon, does that position receive then annual increases that would be passed by the board or finance budget, or once that 6-year, I'll call it a salary is set, is it set for that 6-year period?
His particular one was different, was slightly different than others. He did agree to a minimum of, or no less than 2% a year. So everybody else got 3%, he would get 3%, or 3.5% or 4%, but he would get that. But if everybody got 0, he would still get 2. So he agreed to that when he first signed it. Probably take a look. He came pretty close with John Anderson got at the time, and because of his 25 years of experience at that job. So that's how that came. So different things with that can be set up to accommodate the same thing. So
I guess that's what I'm getting at, is if we're talking about some type of an increase now that would go into effect so we can meet the requirements for IDOT. But then what would that look like in April? Is it going to be one increase for a certain term? Is it going to be multiple increases over that term? So I was asking logistically how that happens. Thanks.
Bonnie?
Well, I guess that begs the question then, the last raise for this contract was at least 2%. Am I thinking correctly? Whoever has that contract? Okay, so when did that come into effect? April of last year?
I believe you passed this resolution at this time, right? Like October, November, this gets passed. I believe like last year, he got the 2%. I think it took effect in like that December time.
Okay,
but I
so,
could be wrong.
So I'm just talking about the contract itself. So it goes from April. So what this is going for tonight starts April?
I think it starts December.
See, your timelines are confusing me here.
Yeah, it partly works.
It's 2 different timelines.
Yes.
Yeah. It's partly, he started in April and then we get increase at the new fiscal year, so I'm not sure. I don't handle it as much. I do know that he does always receive the 2% increase, and I think typically it starts December 1st. But I don't,
For the fiscal year.
Did you get your question answered?
Well,
Kind of confusing.
I can add a little.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Nancy, if you can help.
This contract that we're talking about tonight is with the state regarding motor fuel. So, and that has to be done this time of the year. We have to do it now. That's different from the contract that Craig will sign at a certain point. If we offer him a 6-year contract, that comes the 1st of April, before the 1st of April. So it's 2 different things, but we have to do the state motor fuel. I mean, we could turn any amount in. They'll pay 80% of it, as I understand it, for the year. So that's the difference with the 2 contracts. Is that clear?
I agree with the 2%. I'm sorry, until we get this contract renegotiated. So at least we have it from the state with the MFT funds. And I know I appreciate our engineer very much and has always been on the forefront working with the state. But I do have to say that motor fuel tax was voted on and it came through that way. So I appreciate it. I won't vote for a 4%. Thank you.
Any other comments? Greg?
I guess the question is, what is everybody getting? Because it's different every year. Sometimes you hear 0, and 0 means you got cost of living, you got a step upgrade, you got this, and you got that, and all of a sudden you get 4%, and they can still say it's 0. I thought there was built in a cost of living this year in the merit. What was those 2%?
2 and 1.
2 was the cost of living, and 1. So 2% would actually be saying that he received 0 merit for what he did, which is absolutely absurd. for, I mean, you don't know what he does. I mean, he does this stuff and he's in his office. It's all, you know, if you drive by I had health service meeting, he's still in his office doing his work. He still did both jobs. Well, he did his job, so, and he got the money that we asked him to keep working on. Let's say 2% would actually be less than what everybody else is getting, so. And the adjustment line was there, and it did come up to roughly 4%. And that seemed to be a stair step to maybe come out close to what his contract might be, that maybe we'd be part way there. So again, the contract may be confusing too many things together, but 2% is ridiculous.
Nick?
I guess I'm still confused. So if we approve this resolution, is this a resolution setting to IDOT what we're going to pay him, or does it actually raise his salary as well? Does it do both?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, would you mind, would you want me to come up front and answer some of these questions?
Sure, sure. So as Craig makes his way to the front, I just want to make a comment. I mean, I have the utmost in respect for Craig and the job that he does for the roads. We can't look at the person, we need to look at the position. And I look at Peoria County, and he makes significantly more than the Peoria County superintendent, who has 50% more roads.
Who's only had 5 years experience.
She has a lot more.
I mean, 5 years, so we interviewed her for John Anderson's job, and she didn't make it.
Right, but anyway, again, the position. And so that would be my only concern. Mr. Fink, again, has the utmost in respect, will make more than our administrator, who negotiates 7 union contracts and builds our budget. And so, I mean, again, we're looking at equity and we're looking at the position, not Mr. Fink, but as questions for Craig. So,
thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the county board for taking time to discuss this issue. I had a feeling it might be alarming when a 4.25% raise came in front of you. As been previously stated, there is a cost of living adjustment that's provided if there's money available by the county board, and if there's money available to provide a performance bonus. And a performance bonus is based on what you've done in the past year. I've been working for 18 years, not that I'm going to sign the legislation or pass it, but I'm trying to trying to do everything that I can to make sure the local government understands that they receive money through formula. And the state, increasingly over time, has been very good about raising money and not putting any of it through formula, even though they're collecting it from motorists on our roads. And that's created the problems that I keep bringing to the county board to keep you advised of the condition of your roads. In 2009, we were caught blindsided. I was just beginning to work on this, and we were blindsided, and we got skunked. And local government took a big hit on your roads and bridges. The state raised a lot of money and gave you a very, very little bit. So at that time, I'd only been at it for about 2 years. I've been researching for 8 years. For the 2 years previous to that, they only pass a capital bill once every decade. And I began to speak on this issue everywhere that I could, everywhere that people were interested in listening. And as a result of that, I didn't pass the bill, but what I did is I led a statewide effort. Counties, cities, villages, townships, IDOT, legislature, the governor's office. When you do this, remember the formula. Don't just go cut ribbons, remember the formula. As a result of that, what that brought to Tazewell County, for the county itself, 1.3 million a year indexed to the CPI. And just to get a frame of reference how much that was, we were getting 1.9 million a year. We're getting an additional 1.3 million a year in perpetuity. That's indexed going forward. And the original is indexed going forward. 5 million in bonds, one-time grant over 3 years. Townships get 700,000 a year indexed to CPI, 2.7 million in bonds here in Tazewell County. And cities and villages get 1.9 million a year indexed to CPI going forward, and 7.3 million. There's 3.9 million annually indexed coming into Tazewell County and 14.9 million state bonds. Okay, and I'm not taking credit for all the effort, but I'm saying I'm the one who led it. I saw that the process had fallen apart between IDOT working with us on this issue, and I found a way to work through our association and beyond to raise the specter on this so that it had a chance to do well in a capital bill that finally came to fruition. The reason I'm going into detail on this is because in the county's performance evaluation criteria, there's a provision for a special performance bonus. Any employee or group of employees who presents a cost savings or revenue generating idea that is implemented and results in savings or increased revenues of at least $100,000 in 12-month period are eligible for a special performance bonus of 5%. Now that's one time. That's not an increase in your salary. That's a one-time bonus. And then the next year it's gone unless you repeat it. In case of a group of employees, the bonus would be divided equally among the employees. So I brought this to the attention of the Transportation Committee. There was my understanding at that time, because I had already evaluated all of my employees under these criteria, 2% cost of living, 1% performance bonus. So that would seem to me, with no further guidance on my salary, I went to the committee and said that would be 3%. Given this effort and the results that it resulted in, an additional 1.25%. So that to me, in my perspective, that's what we're discussing here. The appointment is a 6-year appointment by law, and that's a separate contract, as Member Prale pointed out. But the increases always take place on January 1st. So we're discussing the end of the calendar year. What will be what will be the salary of this position on January 1.
So are there questions then for Nick? Nick, and then
I still have a question. I understand that what we're submitting to IDOT, but my question is, does this motion also mean his salary would go to this on January 1st? Thank you.
The motion that was pulled that you're discussing is just setting the salary. The resolution right after is the one that sends it to IDOT and says, please pay this with MFT.
Mindy?
Okay, I have a couple questions. So when we budgeted for 2020, what was your salary? That budgeted as this salary, or is it, like, where was that set at?
Yeah, so at 4.25%, there are a couple line items. One is the salary line item for the county engineer, and I believe that contained the cost of living adjustment, I believe. And there's a separate line item that was, just in case there was some performance-based salary available. And when you add those two together, it provided, unless I misunderstood, for this total of the salary that's in your resolution totals those two line items combined. And that might be an error, but that's what the committee had available.
Okay, so I'm just going to make sure I understand it correctly. You're currently in a 6-year contract that's going to come up for like renegotiation in April. So usually in the contract you would get a raise at this time of year. That's stipulated in the contract, so you would get like whatever is put out there for non-union employees, that type of thing. Yeah.
I believe that's what's happened in the past, but the contract for the 6-year appointment actually reads minimum 2% per year. Mm-hmm. And generally, I think every year, I believe, every year the county has offered cost of living plus performance based that's been above 2%. Is that incorrect?
That's correct. Last year, non-union received 1.7, and we didn't receive anything for performance.
And then mine would have been 2% then.
Okay. And so we're in a unique position this year because then you're going to get potentially a raise here and then negotiate your next 6-year contract in April, or for April. So, okay.
Yeah, there is that potential, yes.
Okay. And so, and then my one other question, kind of, it's somewhat unrelated. I read the contract and I just was curious. It says there's $54,600 for county engineer expenses. What is, I honestly don't know what that is.
It's for everything ancillary to the salary. And so it'd be Social Security, Medicare, and health insurance.
For benefits.
Yeah, but there's also a vehicle stipend, which is part of this contract. I provide my own vehicle, and then the county gives me a monthly stipend for that.
Okay, so that $700 per month for mileage is included in the $54,600. Okay, good, thanks.
Monica?
She asked about the budgeting part. I'm good. Thank you for explaining that.
Mike?
We went 2 and 1 this year, basically. And then what was the provision you read on over $100,000 savings?
A special performance bonus of 5%, up to a maximum of $10,000. That's one time.
Yeah, that's one time. What's the 1.25 cost us over 5 years, 6 years. So with the bonus, should we adhere to our verbiage and or where do we go with that?
Okay, so, because I know what's going to happen, right? Somebody's going to bring this up, and then they're going to say, well, we did this, but you didn't read. But there's a second provision, and I don't want to get, this makes me uncomfortable, but I'm just going to say it because I feel like I have to. B, after that first part, to be eligible for a special performance bonus, the employee must submit their ID on forms provided by the employer prior to its implementation. The idea must be approved and implemented by the employer. The required savings or increased revenues need to be realized within a 12-month period after full implementation and verified by the administrator and approved by the county administrator in order to be eligible for an award. There's just another provision. I just want you guys to all be aware of all of the verbiage because I know what will happen. Someone will bring this to me and say, why didn't you tell us? I don't have anything to do with this stuff.
My apologies for the oversight. I didn't read the rest of that. I've had the blessing of the thank you, by the way. Thanks to the board too, because this didn't happen I didn't pass it, but the board has passed resolutions in support of what I've been pushing to try to get Tazewell County and every local government share. But anyway, it's well documented that I had committee and board approval, but no, I didn't meet apparently those specific criteria, and apologize for any discomfort that causes someone.
Just want to remind people too that we're in the midst of negotiations on the highway department too, and people watch the raises that we give, and people notice the significant raises that we give, and it has collateral damage. So, Nick?
Mr. Chairman, I have a procedural question. My question involves if we aren't in favor of the raise, I'm kind of under the impression we still need to pass this tonight in an amended version because we have to get it submitted. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
So voting it up or down probably isn't the wisest thing to do. It probably would be wise to someone offer an amendment if they wanted to do so for a different salary amount. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Any other questions, Greg?
I'm fine with what it was proposed, but if the body isn't, please do 3 and not 2, because 2 says he didn't do a good job. He just did admin, and oh my goodness. Follows everybody's rules, David.
Right. No, I agree. He does a great job. Greg?
I agree too, he does a great job, but by passing the 2% now, we're not saying anything. We're not.
Go ahead, Greg. Hold your comments, please. Yeah, go ahead.
We're not saying this isn't about, this is it's a procedural thing in my opinion. We'll have a chance to talk this through about performance and whatever in his contract coming up. That's why I recommended it, made the recommendation I did. So I'm gonna amend the motion to 2%.
Okay. So we have an amendment on the floor, or motion to take it to 2%. Is there a second? Second by Hovey. Discussion on the amendment. Greg?
2% says he did not meet his merit and stuff like that. And I want somebody to tell me, I want anybody on this board to tell me he did not meet the merit. If he did not, fine. If you can prove he did, fine. If not, give him the 3, then everybody else is getting it. So I voted with them.
So clarifying, other non-union employees got 2% plus the 1%.
Correct.
I would be in favor of that.
Of 3%? Okay. Mike?
Tell you what, age is not a friend of mine. Yeah, tell me all I know. The point I want to make is when they renegotiate the contract, they're just probably gonna negotiate what he's gonna get each year, a minimum, like this last contract was 2%. So I don't think there'll be a raise unless they make a change. There'll be a raise in the contract negotiation. It'll just set, it might say 3%, but he'll get that in 2021 or something. So that's my interpretation. If that's the fact, I'd go 2 and 1. Okay.
I just want to echo what you said earlier, Mr. Chairman. We're not discussing the person, we're discussing the position. And if this is one of those comments that's offensive, I apologize for this in advance. We are not a private enterprise. We're a body politic. We are a public organization, not a private organization. We are paid with other people's money. Thank you.
Tim? Oh, I'm sorry, Tony and then Tim.
Yeah, because I am on the transportation also. It is the position, but it's what he does with the position. And so I think anyone that goes above and beyond as he has, that I think at least 3 would say something, and I agree with what came up first, but I can understand we have other people, but is everybody going above and beyond in the position, not the person, in the position, because they don't have to do that. But he did to try to give the county and us some money. So I appreciate very much that he did it. And again, it's not the person, it's the position.
Tim?
Just a procedural question on procedure. So we have this resolution before us tonight to send to the state. Do we do this every year?
Yes.
At this time?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, all right, that's what I just wanted to know. So the anomaly that is causing a bunch of consternation tonight is that we've got this decision to make tonight plus an impending contract negotiation in April. Because last year we wouldn't have had that, the year before we wouldn't have had that, so that's what's kind of causing the question. In my mind, I was trying to wrestle with why is this such a big deal this year, making sure we've done it in the past, so thank you.
Mindy?
Okay, so to me, the 2 plus 1 is on the position because the rest of the county that is not union got a 2 plus 1. And so that seems to be fair across the board to me. I feel like if we did the 4.25, then that seems maybe that's above and beyond what other non-union employees got, and that would be more on the performance or the person and not the position. But I do think 2.2 and 1 does feel like it's on the position.
Nancy?
Well, I actually voted for the 4.25, and the reasoning could be used next month, not this month. If we go through this, it's January. I would support the 3% right now, but just keep in mind that we are going to negotiate a contract that will probably be one that considers the performance of the person as well as the position. So I would support 3%, but I believe the amendment right now is at 2, isn't it?
That's correct. So we can either vote the 2% up or down, or the maker of the motion could make it 3% if the second would agree. Procedurally, is there a better way?
No, either of those methods would work.
Okay. So, Greg, were you the maker of that motion?
The amendment?
Yeah, or the amendment. Do you want to withdraw yours and make it 3, or do you want to vote on the 2%? Okay. All right. So we have an amendment on the floor to go 2% rather than the 4.25%. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can the second go ahead and up it to 3, or is that outside the scope?
You could withdraw your second, I guess, but
Withdraw your second.
And then there's no second.
Okay, I want to go ahead and withdraw my second.
okay.
Second motion.
Okay, we have a second by Nick. Okay, so back to this is for 2% rather than 4.25%. So let's do roll call. Yeah, Tony.
And if we vote this, then we can't go and vote another. If we voted all no, then there's nothing, and we can't go back to the.
No, we're just back to the original resolution, and then somebody else can make a motion.
So if we say no, then we can't go back up to 3. That's what I'm
Right.
sure.
So The amendment is to go down to 2%. If you vote yes, it's down to 2. If you vote no, then we're back to the original. John?
Atkins,
No.
Conitt,
No.
Crawford, Darcy,
No.
Graff,
Yes.
Hall,
No.
Harris,
I support the chair, yes.
Holford,
No.
Hovey,
Yes.
Emick,
No.
Josting,
Yes.
Longfellow,
Yes.
Mennel,
Yes.
Minton,
No.
Newhouser,
Yes.
Frail,
No.
Rich Simpson, Scortino, Sen,
No.
Sundell,
No.
Wolf,
Yes.
The amendment fails. So we're back to the original motion. A 4 1/4, Mike?
Make an amendment from 2% to 1%.
So a total of 3. Second by Darcy. Any questions or discussion on this amendment? Greg?
I'm gonna vote no on this because my whole point was, I felt we should do the 2 and then negotiate the contract. So I just wanted to let you know why I'm gonna vote no.
Okay, great. Any other comments on the amendment? So this one, if you vote yes, it'll be 3% rather than the 4 1/4. If you vote no, then we're back to the original 4 1/4. All those in favor signify by yes, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
So noted. So back to the original motion, the resolution as amended to 3%. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Craig. All right, down to item 21. Tim, I think, motion by Newhouser, second by Graff. Tim, you pulled this?
I did, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just again, a procedural issue. I was made aware by Mr. Fink that when we passed this resolution, the third item, is transfer, it says 10,000 from new equipment to road improvement, really should have been 16,000. So I would like to amend, and Greg, do you want to explain it? Okay, I'll let Greg explain.
Okay.
Yeah, there was some expenses that weren't anticipated. They had to patch a road, so there was some extra expense there. And some, they had to pay for some de-icing solution that they use on bridge decks and overpasses and that. So that's what the change is for them 2 items.
Okay, can I get that in the form of a motion?
Sure. So I'll make a motion to amend line item number 3 from 10,000, increase it to 16,000.
There's second by Minton. Any questions on this? This is just the amendment. All those in favor of this signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Back to the original resolution as amended. Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that to our attention. The next 3 are just the replacement hires, so we automatically pull those. Can I get a motion to pull item 34? Motion by Prail, second by Darcy. Any questions on this? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item 35, can I get a motion? Motion by Hovey, second by Wolf. Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And then item 36, can I get a motion to get this on the floor? Motion by Prail, second by Sundell. Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Item 38 is pulled. I'm not sure who pulled that. Can I get a motion to get this on the floor? Motion by Mel, second by Wolf. I'm not sure who pulled this.
Call the question.
Okay. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
We can see him.
Yeah. Okay.
Wolf, and thank you.
Thank you. And finally, item 40 that came out of committee tonight. Can I get a motion to get this on the floor? Motion by Mitten, second by Atkins. Any questions on this? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any unfinished business? Any new business? The bills have been sent out, so if you have an opportunity to review those, can I get a motion to approve the calendar for December and January? Motion by Joesting, second by Sundell. I like that December calendar. Any questions, changes? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Everyone have a wonderful Thanksgiving and Christmas, and it's been a good year.
No.